Good morning, honorable members and officials.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning. I can see that the meeting is supposed to have started at
Good morning, Chair.
1:30, and now the time is 3 minutes past.
Recording in progress.
Can we then say the meeting is officially opened? And I also want to welcome everybody in the meeting. I am at the office of the IT, trying to rectify my gadget and also everything that is in concern with my gadgets. But I will finish soon, but we're going to continue with the meeting. I'm not going to delay anything. Honorable members, this is the month of October and we're about to finish it. But I would like to request the honorable members and the officials to at least respect and honor this month, because this is the elder month and we need to encourage the elder people to do exercises. I'm falling in that category myself too, but I really sometimes lazy to do exercises. It keeps us to be at least very healthy. So with those few words, I'm not going to dwell too much. And I understand that everybody in a meeting is ready for the day. And we are going to request Ariko to flight the agenda of today. There is the agenda. Ariko, can we give you to present the apologies?
Thank you, Chair. We've received the following apologies. Honorable Kwankwa, who is attending the Chief Whips Forum. Then also, we've received an apology from the Minister, but I see the Minister is on the platform, Chair. So, yeah, but it was indicated that the Minister will be attending Cabinet. Then we've also received an apology from the acting DG, who due to a personal emergency is unable to attend. Those are the apologies received, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Now, what we need to do, Secretary, since you have flighted the agenda, now can you lead us on the agenda?
Thank you, Chair. So today we'll be briefed by the Department of Electricity and Energy on the revised Integrated National Electrification Program, better known as INEP, and its action plans. Then after that, Chair, the committee will deal with some internal matters where we'll consider and adopt outstanding minutes, Chair. Those are the items for today, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Secretary. Can we then request that we get an honorable member that will adopt and accept the apologies and adopt the agenda as proposed? Let me look at the hands. Honorable Milam, followed by Honorable Fasia. Thank you. Over to you, Honorable Milam.
Thank you, Chairperson. I propose that we accept the apologies and adopt the agenda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Fasia.
Thanks, Chair. I would like to second that adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The apologies have been accepted and also the agenda has been adopted. And now let's give over to the department to do the business of the day. Over to you, department. Or just before that, since the minister is with us, is he still with us? Maybe he would love to do the political overview, but if not, we'll give him an opportunity to speak wherever. Yes. Is he with us?
No, it doesn't look like it, Chair. I think he
Yeah,
left the
I'm sure
platform.
he's
Yeah.
busy. Yes. Okay. Let's give the department.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and the members. My name is Tabukeka, and I'm DDG responsible for programs and projects. I will be leading the department with its presentation, and I'm accompanied by my team from INEP as well as colleagues from SANEDI. With your permission, Chairperson, I would like Dr. Karen to project the slides. Dr. Karen, could you kindly do the honors? There we go. Thank you so much. Honorable members, today we will be reflecting on the Integrated Electrification Program. In short, it's called INEP. So INEP is a cornerstone of our national mission to achieve universal access to electricity by 2030. This briefing will build directly from on cabinet approved repurposing of INEP action plan, which was jointly developed by the department and SANEDI. That's why SANEDI is online. The action plan will further outline how we are repositioning the INEP program as a multimodal delivery platform, embracing, of course, innovative technologies for both grid and off-grid solutions, which the aim of eliminating energy poverty once and for all. Next slide, please. This is just a brief outline of the areas I'll be covering. Next slide, please. Okay. I just thought it would be worthwhile to set the tone and reflect on our departmental strategic priorities for the current administration. Our vision for energy transformation is outlined as below. It's been embedded on the 5 key priorities. INEP is central to priority number 1, which talks to achieving universal access to electricity by 2030, while simultaneously enabling other 4 DE priorities as outlined below. The second priority area that we'll be focusing on, we want to attain sovereign and regional energy security. This aims to secure security of supply of energy, of course. We also want to strengthen the demand visibility and system planning across the region. The third priority area talks about to drive industrialization as indicated, and we want to be the leader in innovation. This will essentially support, of course, local manufacturing opportunities. As for example, we would like to build local manufacturing facilities for things like cables, transformers, lithium-ion batteries, inverters, just to name few. The fourth priority area, we're talking about qualitatively transforming the energy demographics. Here we aim to, of course, empower women. We want to empower youth. We also want to empower people with disabilities. And we want to see this being done through, of course, establishment of contractors across the value chain. And lastly, we want to assert South Africa and as a continental and global leadership. We've seen the success of our G20 presidency, more in particular, the hosting of the Department for Energy Transition Working Group. And lastly, we've seen our strong participation, which was meaningful through the SADC region, and most importantly, in line with today's briefing, our support for SADC Mission 300, which aims to connect 300 households across Africa by 2030. Next slide, please. Just a way of background of INEP, honorable members, you'll agree with me that energy security is a backbone of South Africa's growth. And of course, growth and development. And this goes along the fight against poverty. The Integrated National Electrification Program, it's actually a government flagship vehicle to deliver on the vision of achieving universal access to electricity for every household and ensuring that the energy security is in place. The INEP is implemented under the Division of Revenue Act through what we call Schedule 5B, which talks to the municipalities, as well as Schedule 6B, which talks to, of course, our utility company, Eskom. The program combines both grid electrification and non-grid solutions such as solar home systems, of which I will touch a little bit more about them. The solar home systems are purely earmarked for mainly rural areas where grid electrification poses as a challenge. While access has risen impressively for connecting people to electricity, that percentage access has risen to close to 95% as we speak. 95% of our people have access to electricity. However, we still have 1.6 million households that remain unelectrified to date, meaning that they've never, since 1994, been seen any lighting in their houses. So once more, just to provide context, if we were to include also illegal connections, the true backlog could be sitting closer to 300 million of our people without access to electricity. Just lastly, to highlight, access to electricity, affordability, and unplanned outages are some of the main challenges that we are facing today by the industry. Therefore, as the department, we continue to champion this inclusive electrification and the total elimination of poverty, because we believe that access to electricity is not just about light. I will say it's about dignity, inclusion, and opportunities for all South Africans. Next slide, please. Just once more, if we look at some of the key stats, since roughly 1994, post-apartheid, at the dawn of democracy, with the new government, the ANC government managed to connect 8.4 million households to date. This, of course, brought electrification percentage rate to close to 94.7%. The DEE remains steadfast in its strategic commitment to achieving universal access to electricity by 2030. You will see that through the National Treasury, the department has been allocated 3.9 billion rands in the current financial year. This also includes additional 247 million rands allocated for the rolling out of solar home systems, which will be targeting the remote and mostly indigent household. It is also important to highlight that to date, we have approximately spent 110 billion rands over the last 30 years, which of course supported over 200 municipalities as well as Eskom supplied areas. If I were to say, concluding this slide, access to electricity, honorable members, is not a privilege anymore. It is a right to dignity, inclusion, and of course, opportunity for all South Africans. Next slide, please. Now, in the next few slides, I'll just take you through the current model, and of course, the main briefing. It's about changing the model. We know that in the last 30 years, the model has done well, but with the new changes and the new demands of the modern industry, this calls for a review of the model. So as things stand, the model entails the planning, of course, administration, monitoring and evaluation, and most importantly, to make sure that we do extensive reporting to National Treasury in line with the Division of Revenue Act. And lastly, we conduct extensive technical audits and to ensure that we have seamless coordination across all key stakeholders. Next slide, please. Just to highlight few key stakeholders, of course, we have Eskom being the national utility and as well as an implementing agent. We have our participating municipalities that we are tirelessly helping in this environment. We have NERSA being the regulator. And now, of course, most importantly, we have Treasury supporting the program through the dollar. And now we also have SALGA, which also helps with the coordination across all these participating municipalities. From job creation point of view, we support locally based contractors as we implement all the program. Next slide, please. Just to expand on the previous slide, the current funding model, it's purely grant funding. We receive funding from National Treasury through fiscal allocation. The funds, in most cases, on average, we get a budget of 4 billion divided by half, 2 billion allocated to municipalities and the balance allocated to Eskom. Upon receiving of the funds, of course, we transfer the funds to both Eskom and to over 200 participating municipalities. We do all the allocations based on our standard operating procedures, where municipalities throughout the year, they submit their needs, we assess their application, and of course, we do allocations accordingly. So, next slide, please. Just an overview or a recap of our historical performance of the program in the last 5 years. We managed to successfully connect 837 new households against a target of 917,000 connections, just shy of 1 million. Honorable members, we've been averaging, if one has to look at the total over a period of 5 years, on average, we managed to connect 167,000 households. When we do our analysis at the current delivery rate, the goal, our main goal of achieving universal access to electricity by 2030, it remains to be at risk. So in order to actually close this gap, the 1.6 backlog that we're looking at, we actually need to accelerate our connections on an annual basis. So we're looking at least having a minimum of 300,000 connections on an annual basis. If we can do that in the next 4 years, we will surely hit the target of the 1.6 million. So of course, this calls for us to double our efforts. And in the next slides, we will showcase how we're trying to double these efforts. And taking a close look on financial performance, on average, we spend close to 20 billion rands over the same period of 5 years against a cumulative target of roughly 25 billion. We've seen a declining trend in of course, National Treasury's pressure in terms of the allocation. In the previous years, we used to receive the budget of total budget of 6 billion, and we've seen that being cut by 2 billion. So now we receive a budget of 4 billion on an annual basis, and with that budget reduction, it does have a negative effect on our drive to connect more households. Next slide, please. Just to reemphasize the other means of connections, we're also running a mini program. We call it a non-grid program. This program is purely earmarked for providing quick electricity to mainly the communities that are found in rural and remote areas, indigent households. So these solar home systems are vital to bridge that gap between those who can afford electricity and those who can't afford electricity. In the last financial year, the department successfully spent 227 million that was allocated. So we spent 100% of the allocation, and which led us to successfully providing 18,000 indigent households with electricity via this solar home systems. Solar home systems are small systems purely meant to offer interim relief. Such systems we can, simple households can plug, can connect LED lights, they can charge their phones, they can play their radios. So these are just the systems that are fitted with a 150 watts inverter together with a small panel, which can easily power a household, which very less demand in electricity. We have seen that with our drive, if we can ramp up the rollout of the solar home systems, we see an opportunity of creating training opportunities for our young electricians and young engineers, which will immensely help to close the current gap of unemployment rate. Honorable members, I just want to also state the fact that solar home systems alone cannot eradicate the energy poverty that we're facing. They must be integrated into a hybrid model of course of grid and microgrids to maintain long-term sustainability for the people in need. Next slide, please. Just to highlight some of the stats in terms of the connections that we achieved in the last financial year, you will see that the Eastern Cape, we've done a lot of connections in the Eastern Cape, purely from the fact that, yes, the access to electricity in mainly poor provinces remains low. Urban provinces like, of course, Gauteng, access is not really a problem, but we are facing a rapid rate of demand of new electrification, because this is mainly driven by the rapid mushrooming of what we call human settlement, and more especially those that are settled from unproclaimed land. So in total, we have managed to connect 136,000 households last year. This again, honorable members, it remains below our target of 300,000. And of course, based on these numbers, this called for us to have a look at how best we can now repurpose the model. And in the next slide, we explain this in more detail in terms of our action plans going forward. Next slide, please. Just to highlight a few challenges with the current INEP model. We have experienced persistent challenges in the infrastructure backlogs, of course, across municipalities. Aging infrastructure is a key problem. We've seen that a lot of transformers are being overloaded, which result to them even blown out. We've seen funding shortfalls. We've seen, I'll say, weak coordination across participating municipalities. And of course, lastly, we've seen slow delivery, which has been impacted by many challenges, including supply or procurement processes taking too long to get service providers appointed. We've seen problems as a result of theft, vandalism, illegal connection across the country. We've seen meter being bypassed. And recently, we've seen a mushrooming of ghost vending of those tokens, electrical tokens. And these are some of the problems that we live with on a daily basis. And we also know that most municipalities, they are experiencing capacity constraints, and also they lack project management skills. And with that, it leads to under expenditure and poor performance of the program. So with the new revamped model, we want to address such challenges, which we strongly believe that will assist municipalities also improving in their performance when it comes to driving this big electrification programs. Lastly, just want to emphasize another main issue that we are faced in the country, We've seen issues around construction mafias, which remains a major deterrent for execution of many projects across, I would say, all sectors. We've seen it even in civil engineering, road constructions. A lot of projects have been disrupted as a result of construction mafias. So lastly, we've seen that these persistent challenges, they indeed warranted a review of our current INEP model, of which we will outline in the next few slides. Next slide, please. So now this brings us to the actual key briefing for today. So having identified all the challenges, we've seen also the successes of the program, but we have seen that now we're facing new challenges, and also in line with our vision of closing the gap. We went to the drawing board, sharpened our pencils, and together with Sanedi, we commissioned an extensive study, which resulted into what we call the action plan that we're going to present. So the key focus area in the action plan, we are focusing on to resolve the current backlog, focusing on electrifying the remaining areas that we've identified through the action plan, through the analysis that we have done. We have also seen the need to establish a dedicated and focused project management office. We will also detail how we are going to do this. And also, one of the key things that are facing a lot of communities, including ourselves in this call, we know that we're facing high electricity cost. Affordability remains a concern. And again, the time frame to accelerate this program is very important, because our target is to close this gap by 2030. So with all this in mind, this warranted an urgent action, which we strongly need to tackle the issue around energy poverty. We've seen the challenges around remote rural areas, of which infrastructure development in such area history has shown that it's a main challenge, because it's number one, it's costly, and then of course that warrants different ways of tackling such programs. So the repurposed model that we're proposing will adopt a hybrid solution or approach, and that approach will actually embrace both grid solutions and of course decentralized systems, which will include microgrids. Next slide, please. Let me just sip some water. Then now, just having looked at the objective and the scope of our action plan, the action plan, I would say in simple terms, it does set out a comprehensive and actionable roadmap to achieve our vision of universal access. The main objective, of course, is to bridge the remaining access gap through a balanced and technology-neutral approach. We're embracing all the technologies. We're looking at how best we can expand the grid at the most cost-effective way. We're looking at off-grid solutions, which is, of course, it's embedded in the drive for the acceleration of microgrids. So our action plan is actually focusing on four core areas. The first area we looked at, we analyzed what we call provincial master plans. As a department, we commissioned a study about 3 to 4 years ago, where we analyzed or we developed master plans for each province. The master plans helped immensely with some key information. So such information in the master plans include the following. We managed to review and assess the financial expenditure, historical financial expenditure across all provinces. We've looked at some patterns of such expenditures. We have also managed to see exactly to the T the number of households that have been connected to date. We also, with that analysis, we managed to also review the state of our existing infrastructure into detail and cost the new infrastructure requirements or the refurbishment of the current infrastructure. With that in mind, we also managed to, based on the work that we've already done as a department throughout the program, analyzing the various costs per connection, across all programs. So the master plans was key in terms of doing our evaluations, as now we formed a basis for structuring our action plan going forward. The analysis provided valuable insights into provincial performance. It highlighted areas of underspending, of course. It also highlighted in details the key issues towards implementation delays in some of the projects that have been running, over a lengthy period of time. And this also helped us to determine the most efficient and cost-effective pathways going forward, which those pathways are actually embedded in the action plan. And secondly, in the core objectives, we looked at the technology assessment, we looked at the technology and future plans assessment. We performed analysis on how best to achieve access through the most, of course, a combination of effective mix of technologies. In a short, I would say we try to determine what will be the sweet spot when one considers all these various technologies. What will be the most cost-effective sweet spot in addressing the 1.6 million backlog of households? This analysis also placed strong emphasis on the development of local supply chains, and of course, in support of manufacturing capacity, ensuring that the electrification drive, not only connects households, but also in a way it does stimulate the domestic industry, and most importantly, this will result in job creation opportunities. The third component of our core objective, we looked at the affordability and the financial sustainability of the new program that we are proposing. The key focus was to ensure that the affordability of electricity of low-income households, most importantly in the vulnerable households, we want to maintain that. We want to ensure that they as well are not left behind. They can be supported. So this led us to propose some subsidy mechanism, some support models to ensure that we also, as a program, will remain financially sustainable. We also examined, areas whereby we can actually increase or propose potential expansion of the current free basic electricity that is being provided by Treasury. We have, with the analysis, we have seen that the current 50 kilowatt hour per month is not adequate to carry mainly the indigenous household throughout the month. So we're looking at a possibility of increasing that 50 kilowatt hour to mainly as a start, maybe 150 and eventually 200 kilowatt hour per month. So we think with that intervention, most households will benefit immensely with such an increase in the FBE. So lastly, having analyzed everything, now the key question is how best can we now put together all these plans? How best can we ensure that the delivery is achieved within time, within budget, and within the right quality? So we are also cognizant of the fact that effective delivery requires strong coordination and most importantly, as well as accountability. Therefore, we propose the establishment of a dedicated project management office to oversee the implementation of the action plan, which will ensure project milestones are achieved efficiently and, of course, timelessly. The PMO, in short, will serve as a central coordinating body. And as I've said, it will ensure that the planning, the procurement, the monitoring, the reporting, and of course, all the necessary governance processes are aligned and they meet all the necessary requirements as set up by Treasury, and as well as, of course, conformance to the PFMA. So lastly, in order for us to, of course, successfully execute the action plan, we're not walking this journey alone. So we have strategic partners in SANEDI. Of course, we see SANEDI is already on the call. We're also engaging with the DBSA. We have identified DBSA as our key partner in this journey, given their extensive experience within the municipal space, infrastructure space, infrastructure funding, as well as hosting of project management functions. So as things stand, we are in the final stages of concluding, I'll say, a partnership agreement with DBSA. This is only pending its governance processes. So we hope that in the next few weeks, we will be able to conclude the necessary contractual framework with the DBSA, which will allow us now to implement the action plan. And in the next slide, with your permission, Chairperson, Dr. Karen will help us, just to unpack the action plan in detail, and we'll continue with the rest of the slides. So, Chairperson, with your permission, may I please ask Dr. Karen to continue with the remainder of the slides.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, Dr. Karen.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and good morning, honourable members. So thank you to the DDG for the first part of the presentation. Essentially, from here forward, we look at the information that we've gathered and how we can find technical solutions that can be operationalized to give us that universal access. So as the DDG highlighted, analysis of the provincial electrification master plans, and we had all 9 provinces bar 3, which we extrapolated from the current information that we had, and we essentially modeled what is going to be required. So if we look at the households that do have access to electricity, we've increased significantly from 1996 at about 58% to currently where we're sitting close on 95% of households with electricity access. What's important to remember also between that time frame now of almost 30 years is that technology has moved forward dramatically, and all of the quick win electrifications have already been done. So now we need to turn to technological solutions to be able to help us to address the almost 1.6 million households that, according to the provincial master plans, still remain unelectrified in South Africa. So we already have 8.4 million households connected to the grid and over 200,000 households that are on the non-grid technology. So these very small solutions that the DDG spoke about, where you're looking at sort of a 600 watt just for charging and a few lights. And what we'd like to do is to be able to give a better access with better electricity. Now, grid extension obviously is time consuming. It can be very costly, and it's often very challenging, especially when we start to look into hard to reach areas with low demand. So because of our national grid being so extensive and expansive, we have a very large country with difficult terrain and long distances. We had to come up with a decision-making matrix where we could say, well, what is going to be the best fit for these different technologies to address our electrical demand? So we came up with 5 main criteria, which would help us to make decisions on grid versus a microgrid deployment to reach the last 1.6 million households. So the first one to consider is the distance from the infrastructure to the grid, or from where you want to be connected to the grid. Now, areas of about 10 to 15 kilometer radius is still fine to prioritize grid access, but after that, it starts to become extremely expensive, and the affordability component for the end user then becomes quite an obstacle. So areas beyond 15 kilometers, it would be a good idea to look at deploying microgrids, as these can be more cost effective. Secondly, we need to consider the population density. If we have a very high population density, like in our urban and peri-urban areas, obviously extending the grid, because you're going to there be building the economy and connecting large numbers of people to the grid, that makes sense. But in low density rural areas, these are often much better suited to microgrid solutions. Firstly, because it makes it more affordable for the people living in the areas, but also secondly, it actually creates more grid stability or more electricity stability. And that leads to the next point, which is the geography and terrain. If we have very challenging geographic regions where the grid extension, firstly, is too expensive and or is too difficult to get to operate and maintain and look after, particularly, for example, if there's a severe weather phenomenon, knocks out one of the pieces of hardware, then you've got a whole community that doesn't have connection and it's difficult to get to where the problem is. So a microgrid would be the best consideration in those kinds of areas. Obviously, more accessible areas, it's still good to consider grids so long as they're within that 15-kilometer radius. And then number 4 is to consider the energy demand of the endpoint that you are going to electrify. So the higher the energy demand, obviously, then this justifies the use of considering either extending the grid or looking at a more intensive microgrid solution, which I'll outline in the next slide. So we've used the acronym MG3 here. But essentially, for low energy demand households, particularly in our indigent communities, the microgrids offer a very plausible solution because the energy demand is not as high as you would find in the urban areas. And then finally, of course, the point number 5 on which all the other points tend to lean is the cost per connection. As soon as that cost per connection, and then, of course, the cost of supply, operation, and maintenance to that point becomes prohibitory from an affordability perspective, that's when we start to see, of course, more illegal connections and people without electricity because they cannot afford to pay for it. So microgrids are something that can be considered at those points because it's really a once-off cost. So long as it is operated and maintained correctly, it's minimal costing going forward and it provides electricity to meet the demand. So I mentioned our MG, our microgrid solutions, and what we've done is we've broken it down to consider 3 main solutions and or grid-tied electrification. So this is essentially what you would decide on using the matrix on the previous slide. Now, type 1, type 2, and type 3 are scalable. So it's important to remember that if you were to start off with type 1, and I'll go into what they are shortly, which would be the low cost, just really providing the basic electrical needs in low income remote areas, you can, as those areas grow and the economy expands in them, scale up the microgrid solutions to larger microgrid interventions. So if you have a look in the column that says the service level, what we're looking at there is that in the type 1, which is really your basic system, you're really still looking at a few minimal appliances, some phones, and some lighting. And it's an entry-level system with a 600-watt inverter. Now, it's important to remember here that all of these microgrid solutions are proposed with an inverter, which means they are AC, not DC. It makes it much easier to make them modular. It means that you can scale them up if you need to, and they essentially work like pieces of Lego that fit together. You can plug on more as and when required, and you can upgrade the systems fairly easily as and when required. The mid-level services on type 2, of course, a little bit bigger inverter, and on type 3, you're really looking at something that can run a house in an urban area. This would be, for those that are living in Gauteng, for example, and now you want solar support on your house, this is what you're looking at. It's a 3-kilowatt system with the panels that allow you to charge up your batteries to take you through the night. Now, on all of these interventions, anything in the household that uses heat or produces heat is an electrical guzzler. It really uses a lot of electricity. So all of these interventions, we propose the cooking and the water heating to be taken off the electrical requirement. So that is why you see listed there a gas cylinder with a cooker and alternative water heating technologies. If we can take those 2 heating components of a household's operation out of the electrical demand, then it becomes much easier to provide for the electricity required by the household in a very stable and reliable manner. Now, you can see the cost per connection that's listed there. If you start to look at areas, obviously, that need long-term reliability and sustainability, high economic growth and industrial activity expected in those areas, then of course we still look at the grid. But when you look at the grid, and we've been looking at the costs varying per province, it can be anything from 10,000 rands to 134,000 rand per connection, with an average of 57,000 rand per connection. Because remember, we've already addressed all the quick win scenarios. So everything that's left now is the more difficult places to get to, or the places that are already struggling in terms of compromised positions with illegal connections and so forth. So it's important to remember that these microgrid solutions will also open up, because they are modular and because they can be scaled, it will open up the possibility in more remote areas to scale them up and meet economic growth and industrial activity that could then be boosted in those areas because of the electrical inputs with the electrical supply. So what we then did was we looked at an affordability analysis, and we said, well, if we're looking at these different grid levels, how affordable is it to the end user? So you'll see outlined there under the socioeconomic profiling, we've looked at LSMs 1 to 8, and we've sort of categorized them according to this. This was broken down across provinces also, and then across requirements. In the next block below that, you'll see the free basic electricity requirements. And the DG alluded to the situation where the 50 kilowatt hours is not considered to be enough to support the households in LSM 1 to 3. So this is being considered to be upgraded. And this, we believe, would also make quite a useful intervention in the considerations under the microgrids, because that would be able to be supplied by, for example, microgrid 1. So the affordability of the microgrids themselves is, as I said, an upfront investment is once off. Once it's established, your operational costs are pretty stable, and the system will it has a lifespan usually of 20 to 25 years, and it's a modular infrastructure, so you can upgrade it, you can increase it if required. So you have that initial direct financial support that's required. You also need a large social engagement component to make the communities aware of what the system can and cannot do. So you need energy efficient appliances that will then make your electricity actually affordable, sustainable, and reliable. So proposed measures to cushion high electricity tariffs would be to look at tiered tariff models. So for example, households consuming less electricity paying a lower rate. Flat tariffs for off-grid solutions, so a fixed monthly fee on predefined electricity usage. This would be once you've done a microgrid intervention, and then some sort of subsidy for rural and informal areas that would reduce the electricity cost to the citizens living there. So the critical success factor to implementing all of this will be to consider the project management office, because it is critical to ensure the electrification goals being achieved effectively and efficiently and sustainably throughout the rollout of the program, and then maintaining it moving forward. So essentially what we will be looking at is supporting project coordination and management, definitely strengthening stakeholder engagement. Now that means across the board. So it would be stakeholders which we would be involved with from the technology and the intervention side, but then also considering the social engagements that one would need to have with the communities that are receiving technologies that are not considered to be, the normal, which is the Eskom grid connection. Of course, monitoring and evaluation is going to be enhanced looking at this model. It is most definitely required, and it's the way to continue improvement. So for example, if one were to put down microgrid level 1, we're monitoring and we see that they in fact need a bit more, then it gets evaluated and you can plug on the next set to bring them up to microgrid level 2. Financial oversight and technical support and capacity building are, of course, integral to the success of the PMO. And of course, finally, the asset ownership will still follow the existing distribution licenses. So the DDG mentioned that we would be considering the DBSA, the Development Bank of South Africa, to assist with and to manage the project management office, or to run the project management office. There are listed here some pros and some cons, but the cons can also be converted into opportunities to be addressed under the pros. But one of the main advantages to working with the DBSA is that they have access to financial expertise and they have capacity and technical expertise. They are used to managing integrated large infrastructure programs, and they have very good credibility with donors. The independent decision-making that they have gives them better autonomy, and they, of course, have good governance structures in place. So what I haven't mentioned to date is the price tag that sits on and there is a breakdown in the report that we have submitted to the department and for review to the cabinet. There's a breakdown that says this is how many per province you would need at the different microgrid levels and for grid connection, and this is the price tag. So that overarching price tag is 75 billion between now and 2030, when the timeline for this action plan implementation would conclude. So as we stand at the moment, the most important components that need to be put into place this year is to establish that project management office, because it will be able to mobilize the resources and get things up and running from a governance and legal and environmental standpoint. Then a detailed execution plan needs to be developed that looks at risk management and mitigation strategies. Most importantly, the stakeholder engagement strategies and the community communications and so forth. A detailed implementation schedule and a business case need to be placed. For cabinet approval and execution, the final stakeholder consultations are underway, and the updated action plan is already concluded. So what is happening, and you see it listed here, is that the total required funding to address the current electrification backlog of approximately 1.6 million households is estimated to be approximately 75 billion. So social facilitation and the Minister's roadshows, together with other service delivery initiatives, are already underway, but this is really going to be one of the key components, because those that are receiving technologies that are slightly different must be aware of what those technologies can and cannot do in order for the technology to be taken up. There have been extensive consultations that have taken place. The team has been mobilized, as the DDG alluded to, looking at establishing the PMO at the DBSA, and the action plan proposes the development of innovative funding models to look at attracting investment. And here we're talking about triple Ps, the public-private partnerships, development banks, and any other means of leveraging funding towards this 75 billion that would be required. As for the rest of the roadmap that you see above there, it lists what needs to be focused on and targeted over the upcoming 4 years. But of course, there are always possible risks that can be or that are identified, and possible mitigations. So it is important to remember that we have to have security of that installed infrastructure and to reduce as much as possible illegal connections and vandalism. There is already obviously a program or programs underway that manage all of this, but it will need to be stepped up because, of course, the rollout is being stepped up. So the speed at which we're moving and the amount of rollouts would then need to be matched by this. The community resistance or lack of social acceptance and procurement delays could cause significant risk. And that is why the roadshows that the Minister has already started conducting around the country of paramount importance, because that social acceptance must be cultivated before the technology gets on the ground. We need to obviously therefore intensify stakeholder engagements, and then procurement-wise try to streamline those processes and plan early to avoid any delays. So we already have some experience in this space, and in the next slide I'll allude to some of our pilot projects. But what's important to remember is our supply chain constraints and our institutional capacity constraints. Now, this can be seen as a risk, but it can also be seen as a very big opportunity, because as soon as you start to roll out these microgrids at different levels in different places, you are creating a demand, because firstly, they need to be installed, the initial infrastructure. After that, it needs to be operated and maintained. And then, of course, if components need to be changed out and or when they reach end of lifetime, or systems that need to be expanded, then we are looking to supply chains to be able to provide that hardware and be able to address that need. So what we're seeing is a potential for huge economic as well as skills and job creation growth in this space. The final point there, of course, talks to the money and the policy. The funding would need to be aligned with the timelines so that we can mobilize diverse financial resources to be able to address that 75 billion. And then, of course, policies themselves need to be fast-tracked to improve interdepartmental coordination, allowing for this rollout to take place smoothly and in a manner that benefits all. So I alluded quickly to a case study. This is just a quick slide. I won't go through everything on it, but this is the Madimbu village where there is a microgrid that's being rolled out in partnership with Huawei. And essentially, the idea is to be able to show that these grids can, in fact, serve an entire community by providing each household with 800 watts max. So it's just less than a kilowatt of power, but 24 hours backup. And according to the maximum load power for each household, it is sitting at about 800 watts. So the system design is a 530 kilowatt peak design with a battery energy storage system and some revolving or some electricity that is available in between. What you can see on the map on the left-hand side is we're looking at communications in terms of Wi-Fi, which of course is very important to everybody. Everybody wants to be in communications, and having something like Wi-Fi and also having, for security purposes and even just for OHS purposes, solar high mast lighting for nighttime, telegraph poles, and of course the power wires that you see listed there. So that would be supplying power to all the households as well as to all this communal infrastructure like the high mast lighting and the Wi-Fi. So in conclusion, the department will introduce measures that ensures that poor communities are cushioned against the high electricity costs. And microgrids is definitely a way of considering this, because you have that upfront cost, and after that, you have a flat rate moving forward. So they are then cushioned against electricity hikes. The free basic electricity policy and tariff structure is being reviewed. Innovative technological solutions are going to be rolled out to provide this relief. So as we said, in 1994, if you were to want to put in a PV system with battery backup, it would probably cost you more than your house. Now you can put a system onto your house and it can give you energy security. It can give you peace of mind in terms of your own safety, your own comfort, your health, your education, access to electricity for communications. It's really allowing the technology to now be placed in any scenario, and it will be able to deliver what's required from an electrical standpoint. Especially looking at things like microgrids with solar and battery, we consider things like decarbonization, because now the 1.6 million households that we're electrifying, of which a portion would be well suited to microgrids, this will be a clean, green, renewable energy that has no carbon emissions. So we're looking at decarbonization there. We're looking at decentralization. So they're not on the grid. They're not therefore subject to glitches on the grid and grid infrastructure issues. It provides digitalization and democratization of the energy generation. It gives us sustainability moving forward for economic growth in the country and for really just the day-to-day comfort for our citizens living where they live and being able to do what they need to do. So the department will explore and implement innovative funding models in collaboration with the Development Bank and the private sector to fund this needed capex for the program over the next 5 years. So the repurposing of INEP is crucial towards achieving this universal access to electricity by 2030. And as such, it is something that should be a main focus for South Africa to deliver to our citizens what is needed, and it really is a right, as the DG said, and not a need. It's a basic human right to be able to provide the electricity. So with that, I thank you very much, and I'll hand back to you, DDG or Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Can we revert back to DDG?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, this is our presentation for the day. We hope we covered all the aspects as guided by the requirements, Chairperson, and we will be happy to answer any questions that the honorable members would like us to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Department and DDG and your team. And also, you made mention that you've got partners you are saying Sanedi is with us. I am not sure whether DBSA is with us, whether they have logged in or not. Can you just inform me so that I can give also honorable members to interact with your presentation?
Thank you, Chairperson. Unfortunately, the DBSA is not online, so I'm just accompanied by Sanedi and, of course, my team at the department. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable members, the platform is yours to interact with the input. And what I would like to do, honorable members, is to check whether the hands on the platform. And I can see that Honorable Mile is the first one to have raised his hand, followed by Honorable. Can you take 10 minutes, Honorable Kevin Milam? Can we request Honorable Fasia?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, first of all, thank you to the department for the presentation. It was very informative. I do have a couple of concerns. The first one is that the department has consistently reported that the INEP budget that they receive from the National Fiscus is insufficient, particularly given the scale of the backlog. Now, what is also concerning is that the scale of the challenge that we have, the 75 billion rand that is needed, is far outside the available fiscal envelope that the National Treasury can provide. At the same time, the implementing agencies, and here we're talking municipalities by and large, are frequently underspending their INEP grant allocations. There was one report that said that 38.4% of the municipal INEP grant in the second quarter had not been spent. And it's due to slow procurement, capacity delays, project delays, etc. But that then brings me to my first question. And it really is quite simple. Given this need for 75 billion rand and that you only have 3.9 billion rand for the year ahead, what are the firm commitments that you have got from DBSA and the private sector partners for a proposed blended finance mechanism for the next financial year? What have you got in the bag right now? Can I get an answer to that question, please?
Oh, do you want us to, Chairperson, must we respond now?
Yes, you can respond.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Milam. Let me just answer on the 3.9 billion versus the 75 billion rand that we're trying to raise. Currently, we're still in talks with the DBSA. Remember, this is still a concept that we're presenting. Of course, the modalities of the concept, the financial instrument or the innovative funding models, we still have to develop jointly with the DBSA. So as soon as we onboard the DBSA and have a contractual agreement, we'll be able to detail how best we're going to raise the 75 billion rand that is required to close the 1.6 million backlog in households.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then is that you have no firm commitments for additional financing for the next financial year, that there are no private partners on board, and that the DBSA has not committed any additional financing either. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. So on one of the slides there, you showed that the average cost per connection for a household by province varies very significantly, from a low of about 10,000 rand to a high of about 134,000 rand. Now, that is a huge concern for me, because it indicates that there are, first of all, major challenges in some areas, and I get that deep rural areas have their own challenges and bring that to the party, but also that there may well be procurement issues, specifically corruption, mismanagement of funds, etc., happening at a municipal level. So what is being done to ensure that the funds are utilized effectively?
Thank you, honourable members. Yes, of course, I'm happy that you are seeing the big range of cost per connection is as a result of course, all the different terrains that we're facing. And then the issue about mismanagement of funds. I mean, this is one of the key things challenges that we're facing. But as a department, and also guided by the requirements of DORA, we do as a team INEP, we do have extensive monitoring and evaluations systems. So as much as we also battling with capacity constraints, managing over 200 municipalities, we do ensure that we have proper controls in place to ensure that whatever rent that has been provided to the municipalities, it goes towards its intended purposes.
Okay, thank you very much. You've also highlighted the fact that there are a risk of communications delays and that DBSA potentially has limited energy sector expertise. Now, you've obviously wanting to locate the project management office there. So what are you going to do to ensure that the PMO has or obtains the required technical energy sector focus and avoids becoming just another bureaucratic bottleneck?
Well, one of the reasons we want to locate the PMO within the DBSA is as follows. I mean, in order to attract highly skilled technical engineers, engineers, technical people, project managers, it's a fact. As a government, we will not be able to attract such highly qualified resources. So with the DBSA as a bank, there'll be, and of course, with sufficient funding in place, number one, they'll be able to attract those resources that we need being placed within the PMO, and those resources will be, of course, be compensated with market-related salaries. But again, that PMO will not work in isolation. The PMO will be working jointly with my team, complementing my team in areas where we see that we are lacking.
Okay. The success of your new strategy rests on creating a predictable and de-risked project pipeline to attract private institutional investors. Now, that's a very complex financial engineering task, and it requires robust, transparent regulatory frameworks in order to attract that investment. What are you doing to make that publicly accessible, to make that available, to incentivize that private sector investment?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, this is a complex problem that we're trying to solve. But in terms of running, I would say, a triple P kind of a framework, you have seen the success of our IPP office. So we'll leverage from some of the, from transparency point of view, some of the models that we currently have. But now, this concept is still in a conceptual phase. There are a lot of unknowns that we also recognize as we travel through this uncharted territory. So I think it's a matter of over time we will come to this same committee, present our plans, and of course take some of the advices and guidance that may be provided by this committee. So as things stand, we still have an idea. We still have a lot of work that we're going to do as soon as we get the DBSA on board, and also trying to rope in other partners, we're also in talks with the JET IP PMU within the presidency to see how best they can also assist us, because some of this, this program that we are, especially the rolling out of microgrids, it's aligned with the just energy transition that the PMU at the presidency is running. So with their help, they're currently indicating that they will also provide some of this technical assistance as we develop some of these complex structures to finally execute on this program.
Thank you, DDG. I'm going to hold you to that, and I'm going to make sure that you report regularly on meeting those targets. So two last questions. The first is, how are we going to bring the illegal connections and non-metered supply into the formal system? And secondly, and sort of related to it, you spoke about the security risks of these hybrid systems and the need for surveillance and law enforcement support, how is that going to be funded and coordinated across the 257 different municipalities in South Africa?
Yeah, the issue about illegal connection, you're absolutely correct, Honorable Member. It's a serious concern across the country. What we have seen, especially the rolling out of microgrids, it's actually a community-based project. We have seen a case study or a pilot program that was done successfully, by the way, by Green Cape, whereby a community called Nomzama community in Emelu, in Mpumalanga, the program, they managed to connect 450 households through non-grid, through the provision of a microgrid. So how did they do it? They ensured that communities take ownership. So that 450 community, they took ownership of the equipment that had been supplied to them. So what is key in this kind of program? It's social facilitation and to ensure that the communities itself, they take ownership. That is the first prize without trying to, okay, we will also ensure that the security is in place. But the first prize, if we can get community acceptance, community involvement, where the community themselves, they take ownership, especially on the small package product that we can roll out. But on the bigger scales, like your normal solar farm, yes, we will require extensive security measures.
Honorable Mailam.
Thank you,
Time is
Chair.
up, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Can we request honorable members to judge or look at their time, the 10 minutes that we've given? Otherwise, we'll take the whole day. All right, thanks. The honorable member is Honorable Swing. Honorable Fasia, are you with us?
Yes, Chair. I'd just like to request to speak a little bit later. I'm just busy dealing with something. I have to move houses. So I'd like to just speak later in the round if it's possible.
Chair, am I good to go? I thought you had called for me to go second after Honorable Mailam. Chair?
Chair?
I don't know if Chair knows she's muted. I also had heard it in that order, Honorable Tring.
Proceed, Mr. Three.
Honorable Swing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me start with my first question, and firstly, appreciation for the presentation. The first question is, with some 110 billion rand spent over the last 30 years and 94.7% of household connectivity achieved, we have a challenge in the sense that municipalities are owing some 100 billion rand. Or rather owing Eskom that 100 billion rand. So one would say that this is not a profitable or sustainable return on that 110 billion rand spent over the last 30 years. So with the minister on record expressing some doubt in terms of whether that 100 billion rand would be recouped by the municipalities, what is your response to how this will implement or affect the implementation of universal access?
Thank you, Honorable String. I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, the rising debt, municipal debt to Eskom has been a great concern. And we have, of course, developed some intervention measures. Number one, you might have seen in some of the minister's address that we have introduced what we call distribution agency agreement that we are trying to introduce and request the municipalities to consider. And in that agreement, the agreement is purely meant not to be punitive, but to assist municipalities. Number one, some of the issues that resulted in high debt toward ESCOM, municipalities themselves, they can't collect. We have communities who don't pay municipalities. So if municipalities can't collect, of course, they won't be able to pay to ESCOM. So within a ring-fence structure, what we're trying to do is to, number one, rolling out of smart meters to ensure that the municipalities themselves can start being able to connect. Secondly, within the DAA scope of work or the agreement, ESCOM is also trying to assist municipalities with technical assistance, so that they can also improve their financial.
Thank you very much.
Hello? Okay. As I was saying, ESCOM within the same framework, it's also trying to assist municipalities, from technical support point of view to ensure that the running of the municipalities over time improves. As the running of the municipality improves and they're able to collect the revenue, they'll be able to honor their obligation to ESCOM. At the same time, within the DA framework, ESCOM is in close talks with Treasury. Some of the debt, I don't know how much, but it will eventually be written off. Maybe let's say if half of it is written off, just to give a briefing space to the municipalities moving forward. So once the DAA is fully implemented, which is an interim measure over a period of 5 years, number one, it's not meant to be punitive, but it's meant to assist municipalities to improve on their, of course, operational sustainability. So to your point about whether this will be financially viable as we look to raise 75 billion rand, I mean, we have the view that as we develop all these funding structures, we will arrive at a structure that will still ensure that the rolling out of the microgrids or the program, the CapEx, it is also sustainable. It can fund itself. We are able to collect whatever that is due, of course, to fund this big capital program. As things stand, yes, we don't have the answers, but we have an idea, and we know that with the help of the DFI, the DBSA, and other partners, we will be able to roll out this, and we will be able to recover and fund this 75 billion rand capex that is before us.
Thank you, DDG. I'm just watching my time. So let me just go to the next question. In the previous administration, I sat also at Public Works and Infrastructure, and I raised the challenge of the construction mafia in Public Works and Infrastructure. There were those who actually denied, sadly, the existence of the construction mafia, positioning it as just a political conspiracy theory. But you've mentioned the damage or the impediments that construction mafia is creating in the rollout of universal access. So what is there a particular coordinated plan to deal with the construction mafia? And what is that particular plan? Obviously, this is criminal, the justice system, law enforcement, and so on. But what is the plan? I think Honorable Milam spoke about theft and so on, and sometimes sabotage and deliberate sabotage in order to some of these criminal gangs to effect their activity within the communities. But what is the coordination to deal with the construction mafia?
Thank you, Honorable Member. I mean, you'll agree with me. I mean, crime, criminal act, it falls within the auspice of SAPS. But the best way to address the challenges on the ground, especially legitimate business forums, is to ensure that where projects are, is to appoint local contractors, appoint local people. I mean, and in a transparent way. If we can get that thing right, especially we have seen that in Northern Cape, where we're having a big rollout of renewable projects, The success behind those projects being built is as a result of being intentional about appointing local contractors, appointing local people in a very transparent fashion. I think that is, for me, it's key. And once you can get that right through, of course, social participation, transparency, it does, to a certain extent, eliminate the issues around the disruptions that we've seen in other projects by construction mafias.
Are you
Thank
still
you,
within
DG.
your 10 minutes? Excuse me, Honorable Member, are you still within your 10 minutes?
Yes, Chair. Yes, I'm still
Okay.
within my 10 minutes. I started at
All
quarter
right.
two.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we request Vusi, Honorable Nkos, to be
Chair, I'm still within my 10 minutes, Chair.
I understand. I'm just requesting Honorable Vusi Nkos to also assist us in keeping up the time. I
Oh,
understand.
okay.
I'm going to
Sorry,
give you
I
order.
thought you were handing over to him.
No,
Sorry,
no,
Chair.
I won't. You have answered me by saying we are still on. Thank you very much. You can continue.
All right. Chair, I'm going to ask for another minute because of some of the interruptions, if I don't get through my questions. The next question is, there was a decline in installations of your SH systems from some 20,950 in 22-23 to 7,780 in 23-24. What do you contribute this huge decline to?
I think at some point in time, post post-COVID, most of our suppliers were heavily hit hard. And apart from that, in that particular year, we also within the department we suffered some delays in the appointment of contractors within a 12 months time frame. So most of the contractors, we could not appoint them on time. At the same time, they also could not deliver within the short space of time. You'll see that the year after, there was a rollover of their connections, which you'll see with that rapid rise of connections in the preceding years, or sorry, in the following years. And to date, with the proper planning in advance, you will see that last year we successfully connected 100% of the allocations, because prior year we put measures in place to ensure that our plans, we do proper planning in a year in advance to the T, and to ensure that as we onboard the contractors 1st of April, by 1st of May, everything is aligned. Then they can pace out their rollout in the remaining 10 months of the financial year. So that is key in terms of implementing this solar home systems, considering that even the contractors that we are appointing, these are small companies. So from funding point of view, cash flow point of view, the sooner we provide them with purchase orders, they are able to raise funding so that they can fulfill their contractual obligations.
Chair, I think just in terms of time, then my last question on the microgrids that have been installed. What is, and I understand that in Limpopo there is, you're looking at a kind of a case study in Limpopo, one of the communities there. But is there any feedback in terms of, one, how many microgrids have you actually installed, firstly? And then feedback from those communities in terms of keeping those microgrids actually running with regards to any malfunction of the microgrids, somebody needs to be sent in, or theft damage. So in a sense, and I know I may be preempting because you did indicate that the case study is in Limpopo is currently running, but do you have any current information with regards to the success stories or challenges with regards to the implementation of those microgrids? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I think the case study is not something new. I'm happy to also report that the installations of microgrid has been running for quite a while. I think 3 to 5 years by Eskom. So I don't have the information beforehand, but we will be happy to share with you the challenges and the success stories behind ESCOM microgrid program that has been running, I think, over 3 to 5 years. So I think if, with your permission, Chairperson, we will be happy to provide a comprehensive report from ESCOM's program post this meeting. Thank you.
Chair, Mr. Trink's time is up anyway. Chair?
Who was noted next?
Followed by Honorable.
Oh, there we go. There's Chair. Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable Ghost. Hello.
Thank
Am I
you.
audible?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm just going to show my video and close it due to network. Thank you.
Chair, I think Honorable Ngosi is muted. We can't hear him.
Am I not audible? Honorable
Only
Fasi?
now.
Only now. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings to you, Honorable Chair, and the members, and greetings to the department as well. Thank you very much for the presentation and the report. I'll go just straight to the question. The success of the action plan usually hinges entirely on the effective implementation. That is the correct narrative, actually. Now, there are challenges like irregular reporting by municipalities, differences in technical capacity among various implementing agencies, and the need for timely procurement processes. That remains a significant challenge. And what I want to check is what concrete or immediate steps will the department take to address the technical and administrative capacity deficit in the municipalities with the largest backlogs. For instance, your Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, etc., to ensure they can effectively execute the new, more complex hybrid model? That is my first question.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. I think the issue about capacity constraints within the municipalities across the country has been a challenge for over a period of time. And with the likes of course, DBSA, they're running various programs. I mean, what comes to mind, there's MISA and others in terms of capacity building. So these are one of the reasons we are of the view that partnering with DBSA on this journey or on this program, it was the most optimal thing to do, because they'll also help us. I mean, we all know that in other instances, you'll go to a municipality, they don't even have an engineer on board, and they are still yet expected to solve or implement this complex engineering solutions. So we will be heavily relying a lot on the experience of the DBSA so that we can bridge that gap, the capacity constraint issue, as we will within the PMO. We will be having adequate technical resources. Some of them they could be even be easily deployed within existing municipalities or participating municipalities to assist them in this regard.
Thank you very much. The next question will be, the department indicated that the current backlog is around 1.5 million households, and analysis indicates that addressing the backlog within the 5 years will require 60 billion in grid infrastructure investment. And currently 3.9 billion has been allocated in the current financial year through INEP to connect the remaining 1.6 million unelectrified households. And the action plan proposes the development of innovative funding models aimed at attracting the investment from the private sector and development banks. So I want to check, does that mean repurposing the traditional INEP grant to a universal access grant as the de-risking instrument to crowd in private developmental and concessional finance? And also, is the universal access strategy and its blended finance model be of assistance to the department and the country on the plans to meet the 2030 electrification goal? And what is the initial funding target from the private and development partners?
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think you just hit the nail on the head. For us, with the support from National Treasury, the 4 billion annual allocation over the MTF period, it does provide some element of de-risking from financial perspective. So basically, what we are saying is, as we are facing potential collaboration with the DBSA and other funders, we want to apply what the smart financiers will call front-end loading. So with the guaranteed 4 billion rand allocation as a grant over the next couple of years, we'll say whoever is coming on board, this is the guaranteed mechanism or funds as a department that we are sure of. So if any funder can come and front load what we immediately need now, knowing that in the next future, in the following years, we will be guaranteed to be able to pay that. So that's the component of the grant funding, which is heavily front-loaded by a partner that will be partnering in the ecosystem. From equity point of view, because funding structure involves equity, it involves debt or loan, and concessional or grant funding. On the equity side, in the PPP framework, yes, it does provide that equity component of which a potential investor will be able to calculate the returns that they can actually acquire in such a framework. As things stand, yes, we don't have a concrete funding instrument, but with this, the ingredients that we are already having at our disposal, we are confident that we will be able to arrive at an optimal funding structure that will essentially or eventually attract other partners from DFIs or even the JET fund if available. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Lastly, what is the long-term operational and maintenance plan for the off-grid solar home systems and microgrids to prevent them from falling into disrepair? And who will be responsible for the cost and execution of these services? And what are the clear, transparent criteria and cost-benefit analysis metrics that will be used to determine whether a community receives a grid connection, a microgrid, or a solar home system to ensure the most cost-effective and sustainable solution is constantly applied? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. On the cost-benefit analysis, I think in our slide, there's a slide that we're indicating what we call the decision matrix. How we populated that slide, it does inform the best cost. So when we were doing the analysis, and of course the analysis are also, or to make a decision, is based on certain key aspect or key criteria that we had to answer. You will see that the 5 key criteria, this essentially did answer that question that we were talking about, cost benefit analysis. So for each household it's different, or it differs with I'll say the location. So with this matrix, we were able to pinpoint, I will say, an optimum package from technology point of view. So we use this matrix in order to come to that decision and to ensure that this does attract the most optimal cost on the technology of choice. On the lifespan of these packages, we have seen, I mean, even at large scale, the battery storage independent power producer program, I mean, these things, they last for over 25 years with the latest technology. So if we roll out the microgrid today, we are guaranteed that it can have, with the latest technology, have a lifespan of close to 25 years. It's just a matter of being able that batteries, I know with lithium batteries, I mean 15, 20 years, they degrade, then you change not the whole stack, but some of the stack over time. So operation and maintenance, depending on the funding model to be adopted, if it's a PPP mechanism, of course, the owner who's providing that services, it will be coupled with an O&M in such a framework.
Thank you, Mr. Kekana.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chair, next.
Yeah, it's not easy to unmute. I am in a phone. I'm sorry, I told you. But I hear Honorable Voices done. And then the next honorable member is Honorable Edwin Bapti, and then followed by Honorable Nazia Paulson.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Can you see me?
Continue.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we can see you. You can close the video. You
Thank
can
you,
switch
Chair.
off the video for the network and also, yes.
Chair, my first concern is covered by Honourable Marham regarding the costs and how attractive this will be for private investment. But I'm not going to go into that now. But what I do want to focus on is the challenges that were raised. And I think they fall into 2 very distinct groups. And the first one has to do with municipal dysfunction, which I prefer to call governance failure because that's its genesis. The second one falls into crime, regardless of whether it's theft or vandalism or illegal connection, it all amounts to crime, even the construction mafia. But that needs a targeted solution, and it has to involve SAPs and security companies. And what we're not seeing is any plan to address that particular issue. And if we don't address it, then I think a lot of the equipment that's going to be put out there in the field is going to be at risk. Already we have a problem with cable theft, and putting microgrids out in the field, I think, will be equally a big attraction for the criminals. So I do believe there needs to be a targeted strategy around how we address the crime issue in all its forms. As far as governance failure goes, I'm not convinced that the municipal dysfunction or governance failure can be sorted out through agency agreements, and I do believe we're going to need legislative changes to improve the governance of municipalities. Because bear in mind that they've been around since 96. So in a municipality that is distributing electricity, having been in existence for 30 years, still doesn't use the services of a qualified engineer, it's very quite clear that there's a serious failure at governance level. And that will continue no matter what agreements you put in place, because those agreements are often ignored. So again, I do think there have to be some proposed legislative changes to improve governance in municipalities if we want to crack this nut. The next issue is if we look at the numbers we're given, approximately 1.6 million without supply at the moment, but a further 1.4 million of illegal connections. And that remains a problem, and I think it is closely aligned to what we're seeing here in terms of the solution. If we don't have a solution for those 1.5 million illegals, they will just simply grow. And I'd like to suggest that microgrids do present an option for illegal connections, where those illegal connections are centered in areas where you've got dense populations living in informal settlements. I think that should be considered. Then I had a bit of a concern with slide number 20 and linking it to slide number 27, the microgrid case study. And I asked if the department could just unpack slide 20 for me. It appears to me that those types 1, 2, and 3, particularly 2 and 3, appear to be rooftop, not microgrid. But I just couldn't get my head around that. So I'd appreciate an explanation on slide number 20. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'm here, Chairperson. Chairperson, can I go for it? I think on this one, Honorable Bapti, I think the best person that can unpack it better than myself, if through Chairperson you can allow me to call my partner in crime, Dr. Karen, if you can unpack this slide.
With your permission, Chair.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So this slide is actually the summary of a very sort of comprehensive component of the report that looks at all the technology. It's actually one of the largest parts of the report. So it's very summarized here. Sorry, but essentially I understand your question is talking about rooftop systems versus microgrid. So the rooftop system on a household is considered also to be a microgrid. The solar home systems that you referred to earlier are DC systems. That these are all AC systems, which gives them the capacity to be modularized and therefore increased and upgraded. So you're still looking at PV panels with battery backup, with the support for the cooking and the heating from alternative technologies per household. So they're seen as a microgrid on a household. A mini grid would be if we were to establish, for example, in an area near to a community on an open area, like a PV farm. So all the solar panels feeding to a battery energy storage system and then therefore supplying electricity to the homes during the day and supplying from the batteries at night. Those larger systems really require an energy service company or an independent power producer to be supplying and therefore providing to that community. In this case, each household would have their own system, which forms a microgrid for the household that can be modularized. Now, if you're working with the big mini grid systems and it's a single set that's feeding to a whole community, you don't have that option to move between the different levels of microgrid. You put down a grid, and that's what you're seeing at the Madimbu example. And I think, let me just try and get to that slide. That is the other slide that you were mentioning. So here you've got, for example, a big pack of solar panels with a big pack of batteries, and it's feeding the whole community. If something happens to this solar or this battery, your whole community's down. If you're on a household level, you've got a better reliability and security of supply. And as I say, you've also got the capacity to then increase that supply relatively easily by plugging on another module of the solar with battery backup. I'm not sure if that's addressed everything that you were asking around that.
So I understand the design and the technology used and how it works, but I think what I couldn't get my head around is why they were both referred to as microgrids. In one case, they stand alone on each house. In the other case, it's a proper microgrid. There is a grid, but on the rooftop, there is no grid. In effect, but I see you call it a grid, so that's where my confusion arose. But no, thank you. I do understand.
Okay, thanks. Over to you, Chair, if there's no more on the technical side.
Are you done, Mr. Honorable Thring? Honorable Thring.
It's
No, that was
Bapti.
Bapti.
Bapti, Chair.
Oh,
Chair,
Honorable Babdi, I'm sorry for that. Are you done?
it's just some feedback on the illegal connections and the impact on load reduction and whether this program will mesh with it. Is there going to be any attempt to deal with it too? Because I think there could be some synergy achieved in dealing with the illegal connections and hence the load reduction that arises from them, because a lot of those illegal connections are what are causing the load reduction program to be instituted. Thank you.
Okay. DDG?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Bapti, you may have seen, I think in about, was it 3 weeks ago, the Minister launched ESCOM-led load reduction program. With that program, of course, we are trying to also address issues around illegal connections, and at the same time rolling out smart meters, very digital smart meters. That program, I think it has already been launched. By the time we ramp up on this rolling out of microgrids, I think that program will be probably being at its final stages. So we strongly believe that with that program, it will address significantly the issue around illegal connections. So at the same time, as we ramp up our microgrid rollout and with the lessons learned in also dealing with some of the communities, I think we will be in a position to come up with measures of preventative measures of illegal connection resurfacing over time. I hope that addresses the concern, Honorable Bapti.
No, I've got that.
Honorable Babti, are you covered?
Covered, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Paulson.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the department. Thank you very much for the presentation. I just have a few questions of clarity. So the department indicates that the current backlog stands between 1.5 million, 1.8 million households. The target for universal access is 2030. The current MTEF targets 2025, 2026 through to 2027, 2028 account for only 300,000 additional connections. So given the slow rate currently of connections and the huge remaining gap, what specific detailed actions are planned by the department to achieve the required acceleration, connecting over 1.2 to 1.5 million households in the final 2 years, 2028, 2029, to meet the 2030 goal of between 1.5 and 1.8 million households?
Thank you, Honorable Paulson. I think your question is so relevant. You will see if Dr. Karen, you can slide that slide with the roadmap. So in that roadmap, one of the things that we did was to quantify exactly within the locations that or the provinces that we're targeting over the next 4 to 5 years. You'll see the numbers are not there, but in the detailed spreadsheet we do have the numbers, and on average we've seen that. And currently, yes, we might be facing a bit of delays, but we know that over time we'll ramp up. So in 26-27, we have detailed numbers to say, okay, we'll need about on average 350,000 connection in a form of multiple technologies, and we'll slowly ramp it up towards the road towards 2029, 2030. But we can only be able to ascertain such numbers, the details of that such numbers, upon the establishment of the PMO, where we will have resourced the PMO sufficiently with the key technical aspects that will help us to actually detail this execution plan in a form of course, what we call a Gantt chart with the numbers. So we believe that we can still achieve this if we successfully mobilize funding, and if we successfully, again, having DBSA on board.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad you mentioned funding, because it looks like within the next 5 years, to address the current backlog, it's estimated at 60 billion in grid infrastructure investment. But the MTEF allocation for the entire program, municipal, ESCOM, and non-grid, for the period 2025-2026 to 2027-2028 is approximately 12.7 billion. So what specific strategies beyond requesting additional funding through the medium-term adjustment process for electrification master plans will be deployed to close this massive multi-billion rand funding shortfall necessary that you will need for the grid infrastructure rollout?
No, thanks for that observation, Honorable Paul, sir. I mean, we know that. I mean, we will not get 75 billion from National Treasury. That one we know. So the budget that is indicated on over the MTEF of 12 billion, yes, that's the only budget that we are comfortable with. But with that budget, that guaranteed budget, that's what we're trying to. I think I tried to explain to Honorable Nkosi. That's what we're using as an instrument to de-risk and attract other funders to say we are guaranteed this 12 billion over MTEF. We would like you through a funding structure. We want to rope in partners having this 12 billion being guaranteed, so that they can see that, okay, going forward, that component from the department point of view is covered. It's just a matter of raising the balance of the funding in a form of debt and equity, so that whoever is its partner is partnering with us, they are also able to get their return on investment. Be rest assured, we understand that we will not be able to get any more additional funding through over the MTEF period. It's just a matter of coming with innovative funding structures that can attract additional funding that is required.
Well, thank you very much. You may have to present to this committee how you are going to raise the funds for the shortfall. You know, we need to be taken into confidence, you know, that this is how you will raise the money, and this is how you will ensure that all of this 1.5 million to 1.8 million families will be electrified. Thank you very much. So also, once again, in your presentation, you've identified the primary challenges, not only energy access for the poor, but also affordability to use that electricity. So the revised INEP model proposes microgrids, which I think is an amazing idea, because you also stated that their pricing structure can be optimized to less than R1 per kilowatt. You know, you should make this option available to everyone, not just the poor, because sometimes, you know, we are misclassified as not being poor. So considering the overall issue of energy poverty amongst the most vulnerable, how will the department ensure that pricing structures for the new hybrid and off-grid technologies remain permanently affordable for poorer communities, especially if these systems rely less on traditional government subsidies?
Thank you. Thank you for the observation and the question. I think the issue about pricing, you're absolutely correct. The high tariffs are affecting everybody, not only the poor, but all the citizens of this great nation. As a department, we've also taken a view, or we're now in the process of revising the energy pricing policy. One of the key things that we want to address in that review policy is it's exactly this issue of high tariffs. How best, what are the policy levers that we can use to result in affordability of electricity, and also going forward, how do we arrive at a policy instrument that will ensure that even the pricing as we go for the tariffs are adjusted with the normal CPI, not the hefty adjustment or raising that we've seen in the past couple of years. So we are confident that with the revised energy pricing policy, we will be able to incorporate all these various technologies, and hopefully within the policy we can arrive in the pricing that could be as low as below one rand, and some of the also models that we are also going to be put on test. It's this tiered tariffs, the flat rates. So yes, all those will be answered within the framework of the review of the energy pricing policy framework.
Thank you very much. My last question, I want to deal with the implementation and monitoring effectiveness. So you stated that the program still faces challenges, and you've included and you've mentioned underperforming municipalities. Considering that transfers to municipalities will remain static at 1.7 billion per year over the MTEF period due to previous reductions and reprioritizations, what consequences or remedial actions are stipulated within the INEP conditional grant framework, Schedule 5B, for municipalities that continue to underperform or misuse allocated funds, especially if funding levels are already constrained? Because let's face it, we've been bailing out municipalities. Most municipalities are dysfunctional. That's why 2026 local government elections can't come soon enough, so that we can make sure that voters put in place proper leadership in those municipalities. But back to my question.
Thank you for that question. I think you will agree with me. I mean, the DORA framework does provide clear, guidance and I'll say actions or I'll say yes, actions and interventions that as a department, as a minister of the fund, that we take towards most cases municipalities that are not performing, municipalities that are not spending in accordance with the rules, the strict rules of the DORA framework. In most cases, on a quarterly basis, as we do quarterly monitoring and reporting, such municipalities, unfortunately, some of them they receive the allocations get reprioritized. Some of the projects remain unfinished as a result of non-compliance. So we do take non-compliance seriously, and but at the same time, I mean, we're not advocating punitive measures, but advocating collaboration and assisting wherever possible. And we know that such capacity constraints, they do exist. So we also try within our limited resources also assist. But within the framework, yes, there are those compliance obligations that municipality must conform to.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, how am I doing for time? Is there time?
Time is up, Mr. Bolson.
Okay, thank you very much, Eriko, and thank you very much, Chairperson. I think this is a far better way of getting or being able to ask questions to the department after the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Paulson. Honorable Njabile.
Thanks a lot, Chair. Good morning to everyone, honorable members, executives in terms of the members of the department and Saneri. I think maybe just to starting back with the roadmap, INEP was previously a geyser or water heating, project, isn't it? DDG?
Tobela, Honorable Nchawen, I
Tobela.
think you're probably mistaking INEP with another program. The
Okay.
solar water heater program, it's a separate program.
Oh, that's a separate program. Okay, fine. That's how I noted clarity on that. Quickly, just looking at the whole INEP program and what it intends to achieve, what is the difficulty of reaching the 1.6 million unelectrified households where you would need a solution like, for instance, the INEP program of doing the solar microgrids? Is there any problem of reaching this household whereby you have to literally offset to a solar solution?
Yes, the difficulty is cost and time. If we go the conventional route only, purely grid-tied connections, it will be even super expensive. It will also take a lot of time to implement because it requires a lot of infrastructure as well as we try to connect people. And at the same time, from affordability point of view, I mean, the other key issue that we are raising here, we can connect people, but the question is, can the people afford? So by looking at other alternative solutions, we have the view that some of these solutions can also answer the issue of cost in terms of tariffs. So in other cases, if let's say for an example, an IPP program, if they were to supply a household with those tariffs that we see as they bid, the 50 cents a kilowatt hour, I mean that will be a first price.
So the inhibitor right now is a cost issue, right? If I get it thoroughly. So what really I'm trying to understand, we have to electrify these households over a long period of time. INEP is just an interim plug-in solution to help with the crisis of unelectrified households. What is the long-term plan beyond the INEP, where we are having these houses connected to the grid, some of the informal settlements recognized and properly scheduled to be properly electrified? Because we cannot work on a short-term solution for a long-term problem. The problem is still going to exist. People will need grid connection, would need to be connected. You can say, yes, you would have a grid-tied INEP solution whereby you would have your current solar, which you are proposing for the households to be connected to it. But if it is just off grid and an island on its own, and there is no plan to ever connect it, the cost will still cascade and escalate. So I'm trying to understand, where do we put this project into context? Because I see that the project will be handed over to DBSA as an implementing partner. And we're very skeptical because we know what has happened in the past with some of the DBSA projects when people became wealthy and super rich based on these budgets, when they were allocated to DBSA to administrate, and it became a tender for all and a gravy train model where services were delivered scantily. Projects were not fulfilled in terms of full implementation. So we're quite worried about this whole thing because we want the level of accountability. Our work, when we want to do an oversight, we want to go in and say, yes, in this village or in this particular informal settlement, say you've got 20,000 houses. Have they been electrified? Have they received electricity? Are they connected effectively? And looking at the proposal of the system itself, this system is going to be totally overloaded because you're looking at just lighting alone. You're not even talking heavy appliances. You're not even talking fridges. You're not even talking cooking stoves. You're just looking at the lighting solution because based on the, sort of kilowatt, system, in terms of capability of the system, it's not able to carry much. It is just almost a demo solution to helping people get lighting in the night, and during the day they could maybe use, I don't know whether it's going to be, because you already have an inverters there, you would have a proper AC appliances, but you can't run things like your kettles, your ironing, You cannot do heavy equipment utilization. So where do we fit in this? Because your cost structure is already heavy. You're looking at a 55,000 to 120,000 for a microgrid. It's already expensive. So I don't understand the cost factor part of it. And maybe explain to us how the tariff is going to work as well towards these communities. Are they going to be paying for this microgrid on a tariff level of utilization?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Let me answer it in this form. What is our short-term goal? The short-term goal is to address the commitment made by this government to achieve universal access to electricity by 2030. And this is, of course, underpinned by the National Development Plan. So that is the goal before us, so that we ensure that as that commitment has been made in when NDP was published back in 2011, we're meeting it by 2030. And this is the department its mandate is driven from that. We will see even in our strategic plan, priority number 1 talks to that, to ensure that the goal as set out in the NDP, it's met between short term, which is 2030. The long term, INEP is here to exist. I mean, we'll forever continue providing electrification to our people. So the only thing that we're trying to do is to close the backlog. Then electrification needs will grow, of course, with the population growth and the economic growth of the country going forward. Why is it so expensive? Yes, we are chasing time as well. There's time between now and 2030. If we are to continue at this pace, the 2030 target of achieving universal access at the national level will unfortunately not be achieved. So that is our main goal now, is to achieve that. But at the same time, long term, we will continue with electrifying our people, but not just relying on expensive conventional means. Technology has provided that, has proven that as we move with technologies, different technologies over time, electrification becomes cheaper and cheaper. So with this repurposing of INEP, we are exploring that, and we are confident that with this innovative solutions and the rolling out of microgrids is the future. Not the future as a result of cost, but it does address the issue about our commitment to lower our carbon footprint as well.
On the tariff part of it, how are they going to be paying for this electricity provided?
The tariff structure, I think it's one of the things as I've highlighted, and you can see that these are still high-level proposals. As we develop this funding structure, we will be able to arrive at optimum tariffs that will enable the investment, the capex to be paid. So those are the kind of ideas that we still have, and as I've indicated before, we will come to this same committee, present what we will at that time, at the point in time, we deem as an optimal funding structure for this program. At present, we don't have as yet a fully fledged funding structure or funding model.
So there is no tariff payment structure, as you're saying that they can pay as little as under a rand. It's still an assumption at this stage, right?
It's still at concept phase. It's not an assumption, and it's going to be tested and explored.
Yeah, it is an assumption, DDG. If it's a concept, it's an assumption. It's not yet proven, and nothing has yet been implemented. So we agree on that part. Our concern with DBSA that there is no project transparency within DBSA in respect to implementation, meeting of timelines, allocation of the budget. And what we are suspecting right now is this budget might end up funding the next year's local general election as a project that will be allocated, and there will be service providers that will be selected within the DBSA environment because they will have autonomy to literally adjudicate over this fund. So we are quite worried that this might be another project to fund the local general election. And unfortunately, because we don't have any control, we want to know that what is the instrument for us at an oversight level to go and ensure and make sure that the implementation of this project is successfully implemented and that there is no issues of corruption as well as squandering of the project and the tenders that are being offered by DBSA for implementation, because DBSA is a bank, is not an implementing partner. They don't own anything on solar. They don't deal with anything with regards to technology and everything. You have partners that you've already spoken to about, which you've already said they are in the pipeline of being identified, etc. So where will the transparency in terms of the accountability of the project be? Where can we have an oversight of that?
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think we should not forget that the ownership, the mandate, and the accountability of this program still resides with this department. And the department, again, has an obligation to account to this committee. So everything that we are doing and the partners that we're bringing on board, we are not necessarily delegating our mandate, our accountability to our partners. We account to this committee. So as we develop the structures, the funding models, and how the program is going to be rolled out, will be presented to this committee in a transparent fashion in all the steps that we'll be taking going forward.
And
Time is up, Mr. Ntshabile.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'll come back for follow-up questions.
If there will be any follow-up questions out of the 10 minutes that I've given to each and every member. Honorable Fasia.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you to the INEP team as well as our stakeholders. I don't know if you can see me very well, the light is off. My first point is welcoming at least the notion of the plan. So the integrated national electrification program has been quite a critical program in bringing about electricity and energy accessibility since 1994. So if the DDG could very quickly just remind us of the numbers since 1994 to now, of the number of electrified households that we have achieved. That's my first question.
Thank you, Honorable Hassan. I think the number of households is indicated in the slide is 8.4 million households connected to date.
All right, thank you. I think that's quite an incredible amount. And I think it's also important, thank you for that slide. It's quite important for us to understand why this program exists in its very nature. And the fact is that it has brought about an incredible amount of access to energy. And I think that must be very much not only noted, but duly appreciated. Now, my next point is dealing with the fact that, and I mean, your numbers are in your slides. You talked about in this most recent financial year, 136,000 connections were made, and you talked about the annual amount on average, sure, but you've also acknowledged that we need to be doing 300,000 connections a year. And I know other honorable members have mentioned it, but I do think it is important to overemphasize here that it is concerning that we are in trouble actually to meet this guideline, or in the fact this target for 2030. And Ms. Saraj, you indicated earlier that quite a few of the easier connections have already been covered, which means we have more difficult and more costly connections that are outstanding. So I think the first point to note there is that it is deeply concerning that we are not, I think, achieving in each financial year the amount that we should. But that then brings me to my next point around this project management office that the DE is proposing now runs the revised INEP. You know, initially I was a bit concerned that it might just be an added layer. But perhaps the team can take us into confidence again about some of those advantages of running this revised INEP through the PMO. I think it might have been lost in some of that information. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Fasi. I think let me just allow Dr. Karen to explain this one. I think she's best placed to provide those insights. Dr. Karen?
Thank you so much, DDG. So essentially, what you see, apologies, I'm fighting a bug. The DVSA already has a lot of experience in technical project rollout. So they have, obviously they're a bank. So they have financial expertise, experience and credibility with donor agencies, and obviously right across the sectors. So the idea is that they would be an independent body that would be able to, from a technical as well as financial governance perspective, be able to support the INEP rollout, or the INEP implementation, as it were, moving forward. So in collaboration, however, and I think it's maybe important to state, and I don't think we stated it sort of dramatically enough, if I can use that the word, is that there is a lot of internal knowledge within the INEP team of the Department of Electricity and Energy that will be pulled into this DBSA PMO. So things like the policy, the experience to date with rolling out the INEP, and as you rightly pointed out, as I said in the beginning, the quick wins are already there. So what we're looking at now is the more difficult, and that's why obviously we're sitting with this 1.6 million. It's the more difficult connections moving forward. So to be able to pull the resources and the positives from both the team that's already been doing INEP for 30 years, as well as the experience around the development bank, which is then hopefully able to assist with getting that upfront support from a financial as well as a governance and buy-in perspective to be able to drive the project forward to meet this accelerated timeframe, because we really need to more than double the pace over the next 4 years to meet this 1.6 million households. So I hope that addresses some of the questions that you were asking. We just feel that the combined strengths of all parties involved will allow acceleration towards this very ambitious target, the best chance moving forward. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. My apologies. I called you Miss Surridge, and I see it's Dr. Surridge, and I know that's not an easy accolade. My apologies for that. No, I think that's clear, and I think it is an important one for us as honourable members to really track, because if this could be a case study for the successful implementation of more complex matters, I think that's quite useful. And now my next question, well, because we're representatives of the people and ultimately the voice of the people, I'm going to pose some of the questions that have come directly from our stakeholders, one of which is from Ronald, and he's asked, how would equitable community partnership and ownership be fostered in distributing energy systems, or rather distributed energy systems, that's microgrids in those areas? So it's actually on the chat box, referring to equitable community participation and ownership. Back to you, DDG and Dr. Surridge.
I think, Dr. Surridge, let's provide insights, give an example of the Nomzamo village, how successful it was, being it a community-based project. I think it's very relevant to the question that has been posed.
Thank you, DDG. With your permission, Chair. Yes, so there's actually been a number of, I want to say, off-grid solutions rolled out around South Africa. So what we've been doing is looking at them to see what are the key takeaways and lessons that we can learn towards a positive implementation, because we know we're going to be introducing a technology that's not familiar to everybody, especially to the communities in the far-flung, difficult-to-reach places. So what we've seen to date, particularly with the example that DDG is mentioning, is the Nomzamo village. Now, that system is actually a very small system. It provides a bit of lighting and a charge point. It's a small, very inexpensive system, and it has been rolled out across the community. So the big takeaway from this, it's not at microgrid level 1. Let's just be clear about that. It's much lower. But the big takeaway that we've been learning from this is that it has been extremely successful. They even have communal areas where they, for example, have a larger system that's powering freezers, and then people rent freezer space for their food. And it's been very successful. And one of the questions I kept asking when we were on site was, how do you get everybody to play nicely together in this space? And the answer is the community buy-in to the advantages. That community buy-in and the community understanding what the systems can do, using the systems, then they tend to protect the systems themselves. So they actually because they are so involved right from the beginning, and with all of these projects that we see are a success, and conversely, those that we've seen fail, it's all been about community engagement. If the community wasn't behind the project, supporting it and accepting to learn about the technology and adapt to use the technology, it failed. So it was really all about the community buy-in and support. Once you have that, the community actually looks after the systems. They make sure that everything still works. They make sure that the systems are performing. They make sure that nobody's stealing or vandalizing the systems, because it's a community advantage to have everything working. So it really has been quite an eye-opener, because I was surprised. I also thought, we're going to have encounter a lot of scenarios where we're looking at crimes and so forth, but not when the community is involved. And I think I stressed multiple times in my presentation that community engagement and community understanding and information, which has to be continuous, it can't be once in and once out. And this is what we've seen. It's taken 2 years at the Nomzamo village of constant communication, but the community is really behind it. And now the community are trying to pool together funds to upgrade the systems to even more, so that they've got more freezers and so forth, because they believe so much in the technology. So it really is, it's almost like if you create the demand, then it will accelerate and increase the sort of economic response proportionately. It almost goes exponentially, actually. Once the uptake is seen to deliver, the technology delivers, then the uptake just exponentially increases, and the interest. I'll pause there. Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Saraj. I just want to get in this last question while we have time, so we can couple what's outstanding. And this is a question from Ntlai. He asks whether the home solar systems for indigent households, has there been any short-term insurance industry that's expressed cover interest given the loss risk profile? So I know you weren't fully done answering the previous one, but I want to pose both just in case we run out of time. Back to you.
Thank you. I'm not sure, DDG, would you like to take over?
Go for it while you're on the platform. Please go for it.
Thank you. So let's put it this way. So the insurance houses on the very small system. So now we're talking about the DC systems that have been rolled out to date on the INEP program. To my knowledge, there's not a lot of interest from the insurance companies to look after those systems or to insure those systems. Firstly, probably because they are very small systems, and they're not really, you can just about replace them for the cost of the insurance that would be required. So there's not a huge interest there. However, what we are seeing with the microgrids 1 to 3 that we are proposing here is that both the financing houses and the insurance companies are showing an interest and are wanting to be involved in this, I want to say, greening of the economy. So there's definitely an interest from the insurance. Obviously, with insurance, it's all about risk. So the more you can show that it's been de-risked, the more likely they are to buy into the scenario. So to my knowledge, there are a number of insuring houses that do actually cover these microgrid systems as we are presenting them, which is the AC systems, the slightly bigger ones. I hope that helps to answer the question. I'm not sure if DDG would like to add.
Your time is up, Mayor-san.
Okay, Chair, that's fine. I think if there is any response from DDG, perhaps you can pose it on the chat box for our stakeholders as well. Otherwise, I'll pose it going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Member. But what I like with you were asking the questions from the chat box, so which also assist the committee so that we can know what are the stakeholders and also communities are saying. So I never thought that will be given time for that one. But can I ask that, are you done with your questions from the chat box? Honorable Member.
Chair, I don't know if DDG answered the one about the short-term insurance, because I think Mr. Kekana wanted to come in on that, and that's from Mr. Ntlai from our stakeholder. So I would appreciate if DDG could cover that as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
DDG? Thank you, honorable members. I think as things stand, we don't have any cover for the short-term insurance, but it does provide an opportunity to look into it, and at the same time, I'm also seeing an opportunity to couple the same insurance with the solar water program that we will also be developing in future, not the current one, because the current one we are tirelessly trying to put it to bed and close it and come up with a brand new program. I think this does present a good opportunity for a cover going forward.
I don't get you clearly, DTG. Are you saying you still have to look at the cover?
So what I'm saying, Chairperson, the current solar, the home solar systems, we don't have an insurance cover for them. That is the question. So they are not covered because they're purely small. They're mainly small. I think on average, we're looking at a 12,000 rand unit, which is uninsured now. So what I'm saying, this question poses or present an opportunity to look into this aspect of insurance coverage and couple it with other programs, the social based programs that we are running to combine such programs into this potential insurance coverage.
Yeah, please do look at it, DG. You know, DG, it is very critical for you when you are planning, as you have said, that you still have to present to the committee about it. But think about it, but at least you will also look at your resources and finances on that one. But please, next time as you are going to present to us, please do present it. I don't see anyone now who's hand. Honorable members?
Chair, may I?
Yes? Who's
Chair,
that?
it's Bapti.
Honorable Bapti.
Chair, there were two
Yes.
issues I did want to raise. The first has to do with the provincial electrification master plans. You know, the DG could explain as to where did that data come from, who collected it, just some background on the master plans and what is in the master plans. And then I want to raise a serious concern about revenue collection. And I think it's linked to the issue of security as well. And as has been shown in the case of the microgrid that's on our case study, ownership of the equipment by the users secures the equipment. They become invested in it and people tend to look after what they own. But it raises the question too of revenue collection to make this entire program sustainable. And we can have affordable tariffs, but as we've seen with municipalities, revenue collection is always going to be a problem if there isn't some specific attempt to deal with revenue collection in a constructive way. What we haven't heard around this program is how the revenue collection will be achieved. And if the DG could just touch on that issue, then I'd be very happy to hear that. Thank you.
Well, it's a new question altogether, ne? I thought you are making a follow-up out of what you have asked, but nevertheless, we still have time. So DDT can come through and respond to that question. Thank you.
Thank you for the two questions. I'll start with the first one on the master plans. As the department, we commissioned this study, the studies, and we appointed various consultants. We did the studies, we commissioned this program, I think we're in 2025 now, around 2022, I think 2022, 2023. We appointed consultants within the industry. They did help us to put together all these various master plans. So yeah, that's how the master plans were generated, and we did also share with them, encouraging municipalities to, draw from some of this aspect of the master plans, so that as they do their respective IDP, they can draw from good information, technical information, as provided or produced by the master plans. The issue about revenue collection, I think you are absolutely correct. It depends on the ownership of the assets. You will see in the different types of microgrids, or shall I say solar home systems, and up to microgrids that we are providing. On the solar home systems, and I'll talk about what we call the entry level or a startup package. That is a small package that we free issue, we provide to mainly indigent households. So it's a once-off package that we provide. There is no revenue collection in that, because we understand that it's part of the social component of the bigger electrification that we're driving. Then as you now move gradually to the next level of microgrids, yes, you're absolutely correct. This will be the revenue collection will depend on the model that will adopt going forward. So I think we will be we'll be in the best place to provide the answer to this question once we have clarified the funding structure, and I think in the next round, when we come to this committee presenting our concrete funding model, we'll be able to answer this precisely in terms of how the revenue will be collected. I hope that clarifies or answers your question, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we are done with all the questions and answers. Now, if it is the case, can I thank the department and also their partners, meaning that Sanedi, for their presentation and for their availability in our meetings, and also be able to explain on what is it. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the day. We might as well ask questions, written ones, via the secretary, and we would love you to respond via the secretary about this. We will slip over this presentation of yours, which we appreciate, but it's not the end of the story. I wish to, and I want to thank you very much for your presence and for your availability. Is the minister with us? Rico?
I don't see him on the platform, Chair.
I don't even see him, meaning that he has just joined I think he was interested, and also it was his wish and hope that he will join. He just joined and gone out to other commitments. Okay, if it is the case, let's recuse the department and their partners so that we can get into the in-house issues. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. We appreciate all the advice and the guidance and support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Digital.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. You have got flu when you are going to.
Yes.
You have to rest and sleep and take the medication.
Thank you so much.
Get well soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Can I request Rico to flight the minutes? I think we've got 3 sets of minutes. I know of the 2, but the
No, it's actually 6, Chair.
Eh?
It's actually 6, Chair.
Are
We
you?
haven't done minutes for a while, yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Those ones are outdated. Can you first flight the first one?
Okay.
What's
The first one
date?
is 16 July. 16 July, Chair. Briefing by ESCOM on its revised jet plan. There's the attendance register, presentation, discussions.
Don't be very fast, even if honorable members have managed to get them. Consideration and adoption of minutes. Okay. What is the date?
16 July.
16 July. Okay.
Yes, Chair.
The issue was just energy transition, eh?
A briefing by ESCOM, yes, Chair, on its jet plan.
Okay. Can I get the honorable members to adopt these minutes as a true reflection? Of course, they are outdated. We can't even do the minutes. I don't see the hands. The hands?
Mayor San and Mr. Milam, Chair.
Okay. May Hassan?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to move for the adoption of these minutes as a true reflection of the meeting.
Okay. Minutes of the 16th July. Any seconder to this?
Chair, second it.
Honorable Milam seconds it. Thank you very much. And next item. Which one are those?
The next set. Why is this
Secretary.
thing going in the car now? Just hold on, Chair. 10 September, Chair.
10 September.
Yeah.
Okay.
NERSA regarding the errors in the 54 billion rand.
Yeah. Next.
NERSA, Chair.
NERSA. Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Fassie.
Thanks, Chair. I'm also happy. Sorry, I'm also happy to move for the adoption of this set of minutes as well.
Yeah, because it's really also outdated. Yeah. If there is anything that honorable members would have to raise it, they are free to do so. But since they are really outdated, September next. Honorable Fassia has adopted them. Vusingosi?
I move with secondment, Chair.
Okay. Minutes of the 10th September has been adopted and also seconded. Next set of minutes. Oh,
Just yeah. 18 September.
18.
It's with regard to NEXA, the governance issues, Chair.
Next. Regarding government.
Governance issues at
Issues.
NEXA. At NEXA, yes. Thursday, the 18th of September, Chair.
Why
That
do you-
evening meeting.
Why do you have to emphasize next? Next.
Because you get confused with NERSA and NEXA, Chair.
It's a slip of tongue. Thank you very much. Can I get honorable member to adopt these minutes, especially the ones in the evening? That is really an unusual one. Honorable Fusinkos, I remember that time we finished at about past 11 to 12. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I move with adoption of the minutes.
As a true reflection, thank you. Honorable Milam?
Chair, I second the adoption of the minutes.
Minutes of the 18th September with the NEXA.
You're getting there, Chair.
Thank you. Then the next item.
The next one is 15 October, Chair.
At least these ones are still fresh.
Yeah,
15 October.
Yeah, these ones are the briefings by the entities on the annual reports, Chair.
Okay. Yeah. It's that it's sent NESA, NETSA, etc. Most of the entities. That was on the 15th October. Honorable Milam?
Chair, propose the adoption.
Honorable Milam is proposing the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection. And then any seconder? Honorable Fassi?
Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to second the adoption of this set of minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. At least these ones are still fresh even in our minds. Yes, they are adopted and also seconded. And then the next set of minutes,
The next set is the briefing by ESCOM on its
1,
annual
2,
report.
3, 4, 5. The date,
This is Thursday, the 16th, Chair.
16.
Yeah.
ESCOM annual report, okay. Any hand? Any Babati?
I'll move for the adoption, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Babti. Yeah, even these ones are still fresh in our minds. It was on the 16th October. And for Sengosi?
I second the adoption, Chair. Thank
Yeah,
you.
minutes are. We're left with one set of minutes. What is the date?
For now.
Secretary? Hmm?
Those are all the minutes for now, Chair.
It's only the ones of the 16th?
Up until the
October.
16th, yes, Chair. Yeah.
Okay, October. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5, most not 6. You said 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The one of... Wait. Let me just check quickly, Chair.
Yeah, the first one is July. That was ESCOM then.
Did we
This-
do the 17th?
No, we didn't. That's
We
the one
didn't.
that makes.
That's the one that's
Yes.
outstanding, yes.
17th October.
No, 17th September, Chair.
Yeah, we didn't. September. And then what was the issue on that one?
This was the briefing by the Department of Electricity and Energy on its first quarterly performance report, Chair.
Okay. Okay. Those one are also really old one and outdated.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyone who remembers it? Honorable Vusi?
Chair, I proposed that we move with the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vusi. And Honorable Bapti?
I'll second the proposal, Chair.
Yes, the minutes of the 17th September has been duly adopted and seconded by Honorable Bapti.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. We're done with the minutes and they have been seconded. What else is the issue that you would love to put forward to the committee members, Secretary?
Yeah, it's just with regard to members will recall the invite we received from the NNR with regard to the unveiling of their building, which will happen tomorrow, Thursday the 30th. I saw that Vuyo did send something on the group, on the WhatsApp group with regard to 11 o'clock, where the transport will be in front of the Marx building to pick up members. So then we'll be going from there to Danafontein, to the NNR. The event is from 12 to 1. So the plan is also, because there's a sitting in the afternoon, I think it's the deputy president, so it's a 3-line whip, to have members back at Parliament by 1:30, Chair. So yeah, I saw
So
that
what
Mr.
time-
Milam.
What time will be the transport?
The transport will be there in front of the Marx building at 11 o'clock, Chair. Or even
Okay.
before that, yeah.
Actually,
Yes.
I don't say before because we'll be traveling by bus from our villages, isn't it?
Yes,
And
you must
come
get to Parliament. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should come
So
to
members
Parliament.
must come to Parliament, yeah.
At least be here by 10:30.
Something like that, yes, Chair. I know Mr. Milam indicated that he'll be going there with his own vehicle.
Yeah.
Even myself, Chair. Yeah.
And all those that will travel by themselves, please indicate so that we don't wait here for themselves whilst they have driven to the venue. They must indicate to Vuyo.
Yes. They can
Okay.
indicate on the WhatsApp group, yes, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one?
And
Meeting?
then next week, our meeting is on Tuesday, the 4th of November, which was approved by the Office of the House Chair. Remember, Tuesday is not our slot, but he approved it. So that meeting will be physical in Parliament, Chair. The notice has been sent to members as well.
Okay.
As well as the actual IRP.
Okay. All right. Those are the announcement from the secretary. And then if there is no other one, let me thank
Chair?
Yes.
Chair,
Please.
it's Kevin Milam.
Yes.
Chair, I did ask Eriko that in the next week or two that we try and approve the strategic plan that we spoke about at Nexa. So we need to sign off on that or the minutes, or how, I'm not sure how it would be presented, but as a committee we need to have a sign off on that.
Yes. Can I just respond to that, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the plan is to, as I've indicated, the IRP meeting is on Tuesday the 4th. On Wednesday the 5th, we will consider the strategic plan and the oversight visit report as well, Mr. Milam. That is the plan. That's for Wednesday the 5th.
Okay. Have you been responded, Honorable Madam, on that one?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Then it means we are done with everything for today. Then I've already thanked.
Recording stopped.
We've lost you, Chair.
Excuse me, I have forgotten to unmute and I'm busy speaking. I was thanking the honorable members for their participation and also for their presence. You were, on point and you behaved in a manner that I couldn't believe it. You made time, you made everything, and you were so disciplined. Thanks ever so much. Keep up the good work that you are doing. The meeting is adjourned. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. And good luck.